Hi everyone.
Hi everyone, good morning. Let's start in a few minutes.
Good morning, Brahma.
Charging. Hello, Ramasamy sir.
Yes, Neeraja, go ahead.
Yes, I have a doubt. Here, instead of Git Bash, can't we use GitHub desktop? It looks a little bit easier than that one because in the Git Bash we need to give some code, right? Some commands we should write.
Right,
But in
right.
a Git desktop, GitHub desktop, automatically there are options. Directly we go and click on a clone or push commit easily.
Yes. You can use any UI also. You can use, no
Yeah,
issues.
I'm using that one actually, but
Uh-huh.
Git Bash it looks difficult for me. So
No. Git
uh,
bash initially to look like that, but if you
uh,
come to know, it will be very easy than other things also.
I hear it that is a traditional way,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Traditional way,
Uh,
but that is the standard actually. That Git
uh,
commands you will remember always. So internally, like UI also, it will trigger that command only. So
yeah.
that is the
It
main
won't show any command. There is options
correct.
we
You
can go
you
like
have
drop downs. We can select.
you have Git. Git desktop. You have Tata is Git. So there are a lot of
Yeah,
tools
I
also.
installed
Whichever.
GitHub desktop.
Okay.
I'm doing on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whichever you are familiar, you can use that either UI
Okay.
or Git bash. That doesn't matter. So
Okay.
basically, you should be able to commit and you should be able to post your changes to
Yeah,
remote.
I'm doing. Yeah.
All that should happen. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start today's class. Uh, let's go to yesterday. We started with the Selenium. So we configured the Selenium in our project, and we also wrote one common code for creating the driver instance. So we created a base package. In that we created a base class, and we created one get driver instance. Whenever we are going to start automation, first of all we need a driver instance. So that is the web driver instance. On that web driver instance, we are going to access all the web elements. So uh, in Selenium, any objects what you interact, any object, it is called web element only. So that way it will be very easy. So you are going to define one web element, and you can get the description of that web element. After that, you can perform action on it. So that way you will be able to automate. So let's put some theory and then we'll proceed with the examples. Okay, so yesterday we created driver instance, web driver instance. That is the first step we need to do. If you are, since we are preparing a automation framework, we wrote that base, we created a base package and a base class. In that we wrote that one method. Directly also you can write, but always follow the framework approach. So WebDriver instance always can be created from the this WebDriver interface, WebDriver driver. So that we did. When we want to automate, any application using Selenium, we first need to create WebDriver interface, WebDriver instance using WebDriver interface. So this interface inside will be having a lot of using this interface we can create object. So that is we can avail these many functionalities from this WebDriver instance. Suppose if you want to perform your browser operations like back button, forward button, all that will be available. Everything in the this instance WebDriver interface. After that, like whenever you want to interact with any object, all that possible using WebDriver interface. So that's what yesterday we saw that. Today we are going to introduce web elements. So web elements. Once the WebDriver is ready, then you can start with the web element concept. Web element is nothing but in a particular page, always we see everything is controls only. Everything is controls. Here it is called web elements. So like WebDriver, you have another class called web element. So web element, using this class, you can create web element. For example, I'm going to define like this: web element. So it's like declaring a variable. So this is the class name and this is the object name. If you think variable declaration perspective, this is a data type, this is a variable. Okay, that way also you can recollect. So this I will put okay, web element. After that you can create yeah, after that let's implement this. So before implementing this web element concept, we are going to parallelly start with page object model. Page object model, because uh, this is the popular framework in Selenium automation, page object model. So what we are going to do in this page object model framework. So basically, whenever you consider any application, that application will have, am I sharing my screen? Let me, okay, it's there. When you see any application, there will be a lot of pages. So you will land up in main page first, home page first. After that, whenever you click some link or when you submit something, it will navigate to other pages. So when transition happens from one page to another page, to another page and all, how are we going to maintain the uh, repository? So that means object. Each page will have so many web elements. In we used to call that object repository. But suppose if you know this UFT, QTP and all, we have a separate concept called shared object repository where you can store, you can capture the window and you can store the objects, all that you can do. But in Selenium, we don't have that kind of features and all. Everything we need to manage in the form of code only. So for that, we can create where we are going to maintain those objects, because each page will have each so many objects. So that's where we bring this page object model concept. So what does that mean is, whenever if there are 10 pages, uh, create create a class for each page. So that is where in that class you are going to maintain the object descriptions. So that is basically it's a kind of object repository. Along with methods also you can perform. So you can define your methods, and whenever you want to call that, you can call from test code. So we are going to introduce the action driver concept also. Before that, let's look into the page object model. So we are going to take one example application. It's a very good application. This we can automate few functionality we will automate in this. So there is a application called web application again called Acme Test UI Path. So if you go to this website, this is a very good application. You can take it for your uh, trial automation. So this is a real-time application. You can take this for learning purpose and all, right? What you need to do, you just go to this URL. I'll put it over here and create a register here. Just a registration is very simple. Just click on register, give your email ID, password, retype your password, and click this. It will be registered. Then you will use these your credentials, email ID and password to log into this application. And then you can automate the various functionalities over here. So I'll put that link over here. Application we are going to automate is this one. Right. So now page object model we started here. Okay. For each page object model means for each page of the application, we will create a class. We will create a class. So if you notice in this application, right now we have, as soon as we logged into this URL, this is the page it displaying. So even if you click on the home link, this is the page is displaying. So you can consider either as this as the home page or login page. So no issue. Suppose if you click on home also, the same page is displaying. So right now this is our home page. In this home page, we have Acme system one. This is the kind of label. All these are lab captions, right? All these are labels we can say. This is also caption. All these text available. Here text box, here text box. This is something checkbox, and here command button. Everything, various controls we have, but everything is called web elements only. Only one object you can refer everything. It's a web element. So whenever we say web driver, that is the instance. So without that instance, even you cannot navigate to this browser itself, right? So after that, once if you have navigated to the browser, then everything is web element only. So this page, for this page, we are going to create one class now. So let's go to src main. We already created a Selenium package. In that package, we have base package. Now I'm going to create another package, pointing to Java, and I'm going to create another package in the name of page objects. So I go to package, com dot tech params dot selenium dot page objects. Enter. Under this page objects, you can create all these pages. So what are the pages we are going to create? For this home page, there are a lot of controls. All these you can define, or whichever object you are going to interact as part of your automation test case, only that also you can keep, only that much you can keep in your page class. So let us define this page as home page. For that home page, I am going to, as per the rule, for one page, we are going to create one class. So create a class in the name of home page I'm creating. I'm just giving the naming convention as this is the page object model. I'm giving some end with the actual page name and then page. So create this class. Home page we have created one class added to the Git repository also. Likewise, you can create a number of, after logging into this, it will log into some other page. That page also you can create one class and keep it here. So wherever you want to do automation, that time you can create the page. Right now, we are ready with the home page. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to, before start with this, yeah, so in this, let's see, these are all the, we basically need to log into the application. So that what we need to type in this manually, we will type here. For example, I am typing my username, I will type my password and then I will click login. So when you want to do that, I said each and every control is referred as web element here. So that what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce one web element object. Just I'm declaring here data as a data member. Later I will use this. So since we are using this web element is a part of Selenium library, Selenium package, we have to import. It's a Selenium class. Import that class first. Comes under Selenium package. Or go to open GUI dot Selenium dot web element. It is imported. Now you can avail this functionality after once it is imported. Now in this, as per the core Java concepts, we know a class will contain the information where you can keep your data members and methods. Already we know, we have mentioned one web element here as a data member. Then methods. What are the methods generally we are going to do here? It means what are the actions you are going to do in this page. So basically action means something, some action what you are doing. Suppose if you click on this login button, it is one action. If you click on this forgot your password, it is one action. So if you click on register, it is an action, right? So according to your test case requirement, either you want to keep all these three methods also, you can create all three methods. Right now we concentrate on only login. So that what I'm going to do, I'm going to write a function for login. Later I will change this void to different return type. I will tell you that. Now I'm going to define this method as login. Obviously we know as per Java coding, we have to use parenthesis for a method, and within the parenthesis, we are going to get to that driver. We are going to pass the driver instance from test code, so that you need to hold that driver instance in this variable. This also I am using driver itself. That will not create any problem, because this is the input parameter, that is you are passing the value from your test code. That I will come to that little later. So now we are writing the login method. So login method, the skeleton is ready, and inside what we are going to do, we are using this driver instance. You are going to find this element, then only you can type something on this. So even this is one action, even the typing is also one action only, right? What I am typing here, ramanswamy.redifmail@redifmail.com, it is also one action only. So that I'm going to create, we may need this one or not, let it be as it is. Obviously we need that is one action. Apart from that, we have mainly this email also. In the email, Either you can give enter email. It's up to you. You can keep any name or just email also you can have, or enter email you can have. So I'm going to have like this common description, this email object. So I'm going to have as email itself and that field name as it is. I'm going to write a method so that I give the parentheses and curly braces and all that. In that email, first we need to get to the description of it. First we need to find this email, then only we can do the action on it. For finding this element, this is where we need to use driver instance first. On that we are going to use the find element method. So right now, let me see why it is not coming. Web driver.
Sir, before the email, first launch the browser, maximize the window. There are those
Yeah, we are
some
going to
actions are right.
we are going to
Like
write a separate.
preconditions.
Yeah. We started with the page object. We are going to write that as well. Without write,
You need to means you need to accept driver as a parameter to this email. Then it will allow.
right. Then only it will allow. Yeah, correct. That's what I just wondered why it's not coming. Because in the login we are getting this right in the input parameter. Same thing for email also. Without anything, you cannot have the find element here. Now if we give find element, this is where we are going to use the locators concept. So the locators concept, how we are going to use is, let me put a notes there. So we basically have in Selenium, we have 8 locators basically. So whenever you want to find that element, you have to use the concept of locators in the Selenium. So what is locators? Locators are some properties. Using these properties, you can find your elements. So we have something called ID, name, and link text, partial link text, and then CSS selectors, and then XPath. So the remaining we'll find out from here itself. So if you give find element, and after that you have to use a class called by. From here you can find all the locators. So ID we included, XPath, class name, CSS,
Tag name.
here tag name is there, tag CSS selector, class name. Okay, class name is there. Class name, tag name 7, one more. Seasonal link text, name is there, partial link, tag name. ID, XPath, class name, CSS link text, partial class, tag name, XPath.
Name and class name are different.
Name or class name looks different, correct? Name and class name is different. We have ID, name is different and class name is different. Yes. So then 8 it comes now. So ID, I will put it name over here. Class name, tag name, linker, partial linker, CSS selector, and the XPath. So these are the 8 locators we can use to find the element. So to find this element, we have we can use some, we need to write the XPath, or we need to write first of all, what we, if we want to find this element, we need to right click and go to the inspect. Whenever you do the automation, do it in one browser. So if you do it in the Chrome browser, it is easy. So always use the Chrome browser to automate. But running, you can run it on any browser. That's what we have the cross browser testing on this one also, right? So I right clicked on this particular web element and it pointed to me this code. So this is basically the page source of this page. That means the code page, the HTML code page. Always whenever you do right click inspect, it will come to the corresponding the respective code line of this. We right click from there, it came to the respective code line. Now you can see in this code line what are all the locators that you can use. First you can analyze that. If you find any locators out of that 8 locators, that you can directly take and you can build your object description. So if we see in this right now, you need not to concentrate on anything. So whenever we start with XPath, then we are going to consider this input tag and all that. Right now, first to see anything falls under that locators in that 8 locators. So we have ID. So that what I'm going to do, I'm going to take as it is. So suppose if you mouse over here, obviously it is highlighting that particular text box. So this is correct. So that you can take this ID since the ID is an locator in Selenium. You can take that ID. Just note down that ID equal to email, right? You need to remember this email. So what now I'm going to do? Go here and use the ID locator in bracket, round bracket, mention that name. That is email. It is email, right? ID name is email here, so that you can mention that here, email, and then put semicolon. That's all. So now it is going to highlight in red color because you have to import that by class also. It is also part of the Selenium. So WebDriver part of Selenium, web element, everything is part of Selenium only. So if you import that, it
Sir,
will
it should
download
be
this.
maybe email should be in a single colon, right? Not double quotes, I
Yeah,
think. Single quote,
either you
right?
can use single or double.
Okay.
That is fine. Use double itself, no issue.
We can test our XPath in the HTML page itself, sir. So like we use
I'm going to tell some tools for that.
yeah,
If you
control
use,
F. We can use control F and we can test our XPath is it true or false. Like how many are matching like
yeah,
that.
when we start with the XPath, I will tell you. Okay, so right now we'll concentrate on the locators. So we are using ID locator, right? So in the ID locator, just store this into web element. Already we have defined this object. So you can put that object description into web element, assign that. So later our this one is we are going to return this. Okay, return element. Why we are returning element? Because we have done with our object description, we found the object and we are going to assign this and we are going to return it. Then we can perform some action on this element. So the page object model should return the web element as per the page object model framework concept, right? So whenever we use a return statement, obviously we have to use the return type. What is the return type of this element? Because this element we defined as the web element. So obviously our return type is web element. So that error will be gone. So this is the way you can write your method. So now one method is ready for email. Likewise, you can do it for other method. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to, because the other login button is also same like this only. I mean, password text box. So I'm going to copy this. Only XPath, I mean, the locator I'm going to change now and the name I'm going to change now. Password. And here what I do, let me see in the password what locators we have. So once again, you need not to come. Already the code page is open. Again, you need not to come to inspect. Directly you can select, you can click on this control and you can point to over here and click on it, so that it will, your focus will come to that password text box. So if you notice in this code line, there is input tag, there are attributes, multiple attributes are there. In that ID is one of the attribute. So ID is our locator also, so that you can take this ID to find this element. So that what I'm going to do, I'm using anyway by.id. What is the name? ID name is password. So I put that password here. Right. So this is one thing. Now password is ready. You have to define all the actions, whatever you are going to interact. You can define all the actions first in the page class. That's the reason we are doing this. After that, you need to click on the login button. If you want to click on the login button, you need the details of the login button. That we call that as the object description. Right. So again, you can click on this tool. You can point to this and click there. You will be seeing this particular, it is pointing to this particular code line where this, if you see the input tag, I mean the tag, it starts with the button. So we will consider when we see XPath, I will tell you all this, how to write the XPath and all. Right now, see, anything falls under our locators. So we have type, we have class as the attribute. After that, we don't have anything. So our 8 locators are different, right? So none of these attribute falls under that locators, so that you cannot use that at least
Class is
7
there, right?
locators. Class is there, but if you use class, the same class may be there in multiple objects. So that is the reason better try once. If it is not giving unique, if it is giving unique object, that is fine. You can always tag, because under class there will be so many objects. So always don't go with the class, because it may not give you the unique object. Whenever you want to
Sir,
find, yeah,
sir,
go
it
ahead.
accepts a type also, sir.
Type also you
Type
can
also
accept.
it will take. It will take.
I'm mainly talking about how to use those 8 locators. Okay,
Yeah.
if type is working fine, obviously you can describe, you can create your object description. Let us take type, then we'll see whether it gives unique object or not. That is the matter. How you are going to check? Now we are going to introduce a concept called XPath. Okay, so what is the XPath? So whenever you want to find any element in Selenium, in the web application, you can use XPath to find that particular object. So you can follow a syntax uh, like tag name, square bracket, at attribute equal to value. Okay, so you can follow this syntax whenever you want to write your XPath.
So
So
there
if you
should be double
notice,
forward slash, sir,
I will
before
tell you, I
tag
will
name.
tell you, wait, I will come back, wait. Okay, so that is the syntax first. Okay, tag name. So if you notice in this code, uh, where is that code? The tag name is button, right? So in XPath, we have something called absolute XPath and a relative XPath. Okay, absolute XPath is basically will start from your the main HTML tag. So after this HTML tag, what is the relevant I mean next what is the child, next what is the hierarchy? It will always start from the root node, that is from HTML. If you want to see the absolute XPath, just right click and go to copy and go to copy XPath. Okay, so now let me paste that. Let me tell you the absolute XPath and relative XPath. So this is absolute XPath. Okay, so if you notice, it starts from all the way the hierarchy, right? It starts from the root node and then body, within the body div of two div. So this is the absolute XPath. Always, if you want to take, but always this high possibility of give the errors. So if any one tag changes also, it won't work. So always this is not recommended. This is the absolute XPath. This is not recommended to use. It will work for now, but after some time it may fail when they introduce any new object in that page, or say they delete some object in that page. So this will not work. So that is about absolute XPath. Then comes into picture relative XPath. What is a relative XPath? This is where we are going to use the double forward slash. Okay. When you use this double forward slash, it won't look for this hierarchy. So in between, if anything, if you deleted also or newly added one more div also, that will not affect. Directly, it will find your node. So you can mention the double forward slash, and then you can directly mention your tag name. Now you can follow that syntax. So let's go to that page. When you come to this page, if you notice this particular code, we have button, right? Button is your tag name, and button is your tag name. So you can already you are given the relative XPath, double forward slash you are given, that is the relative XPath. So you need not to worry about all the previous tags. Directly you can mention whichever tag you want to interact, you can mention that. And then let me take take this button now. So what is our XPath now? It is for double forward slash button. Okay, when you give this button, also you need to say in this type equal, I mean, in this button, there may be so many buttons also in your page, so that always you need to give some filter condition also, where you can use, particularly you can locate that particular object. So for using filter, you can take either of these attributes. So type is one attribute, class is one attribute. After that, we have something called the text. Whatever you see here within this, whatever the text login is there, that is called text. You can use text property also. Right now, let us use this type equal to submit. So if you define your XPath now, it will be, you have to follow the syntax, tag name. Already we have given the tag name, and then square bracket. You have to give that symbol. Attribute name is type equal to, in single quote, you can mention that submit, right? You can mention submit. That's all your XPath. Okay. But we don't know whether this XPath is correct or not, right? That you can find out. There itself we can validate it. Let's go to that page and control F by giving selector, paste that XPath. It's not returning anything, 0 of 0. Okay. So 0 of 0 means this XPath is this only if you give type submit, it won't work. So that you can change your XPath by giving
What
different.
I think it's correct, sir. Can you just, I have
Yeah.
doubt for that quote.
Quote,
Means that
okay.
single quote up for submit comma you again, right? That can you just check it? Just
Submit. Okay. Yeah.
it's working, right?
Double. Okay. Single also it has to take.
No, it will work as a single, but it was inverted comma or something.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was
Yeah. That was the issue.
From word it came in different way.
In different way. This also works, no issue, right? There was some issue in the character. Okay. So either you can give double quote or single quote. So now this is how you can validate your XPath, whether whatever you are giving is correct or not. So that this is giving unique object. Always you need to have this one actually. So if you have two, then it's not going to work when you run the automation script. So always make sure that you are getting one. It has to return only one object. That is the unique object we used to say. So you can take this XPath and you can use. This is where XPath you can use in your object description. So now if you go here, web element, mention that login, right? You are writing the script for login. So that method for login, you can mention that in bracket. You can mention, web driver. After that, as usual, start with the driver dot find element dot by dot XPath. Now within the double quotation, paste that XPath, and then if you give semicolon, now your object description is ready. Assign this. Once if you done your this one, assign this entire description to this web element. Already we have declared that, and once it is assigned, then return that. Because all the actions you are going to do from the test code. Here you need not to do any action. Just define the action. That is enough. The performing action you can do it from the test code that we are going to write now. Return element, right? So obviously the return type is web element, we have mentioned already. Now what we are going to do is, in this web page class, these are all the objects we are going to interact. So our page object is ready. Home page is ready. Now let's go back to our test code. So now already we have the driver instance. Creating the driver instance, we have the code. And if you want to proceed with the automation, everything, the action, we have to start from the test code. So now I'm going to come back to this test Java. Now you can create for keeping all your test cases, you can create one class here. You can create first of all one package. So go to new package here, com dot tech params dot action driver. So here you can create a class, either any name you can give, no issue, just to give one name. From there you call all the methods, whatever test case you are calling. Action driver, I just created one class. If you notice our base class here, we basically have one browser type as the parameter. Whenever we want to create the driver instance, we are going to pass that parameter, browser type, that we are going to do from here. So if you notice, just to define one variable for browser type equal to some. Right now I have this as Chrome. After that, already we have the code to create the driver instance, so that I'm going to call that driver instance. For that, I'm going to write a method first. So if you want to do any action as per the core Java concept, you need to write the method, right? So I'm going to mention this as the setup or setup driver instance or create driver instance. Anything is fine. Setup driver in bracket. I'm going to pass this browser type. So I will simply mention here you need not to do anything. Just keep it as it is. Here you are going to call within this setup driver. You are going to call the base package that in that base class you have get driver instance that you can call here from here. So if you go here, base class, you have the get driver instance, and that you can mention over in the test code. Come here, mention that in bracket. We need to pass the browser type there, right? We have one parameter browser type, so that we pass that. And this initially it will give for that we need to import that base package here, base class. So that what I'm going to do, import, because this driver instance part of that particular base class, right? So that you have to import that class first. This class comes under this one, com.techparams, right? Import com.techparams dot, which package comes under, it is Selenium base class. Now what is that now? So you can use this get driver instance, void setup driver, get driver instance, create method get driver instance in action driver. This already we have the method.
You need to create object, I think, base drivers.
Yeah, correct. Directly we cannot do this. You need to first, we need to create object for this. We imported it, but we didn't create the object yet, so that you can create the object.
You can create global object. Okay. Do we have only one method here?
We may have many methods, so that we will create here itself. Then. So the class name is going to be base, create one object. Let me, you can put base or anything is fine. So already we have base package. You need not to get confused. Let me use obj itself. Obj equal to new base. So global object is ready. That object you can use over here. Obj dot browser type. So when you do this, what happens? It will call the driver instance. It will go to this base. It will come to this function. If you are passing Chrome, that will be assigned here. Then it will check in switch statement. If your option is Chrome, then it will come here and it will create the Chrome driver instance. Immediately, we have to use break statement here that we missed out. Otherwise, again, it will go to here and it will create without any condition also it will create. So better use, this is the syntax we have to use. Break here once our operation is in that particular block is done, use break here. All right, so now when we come back to action driver, we get that driver instance, whether based on our browser type, we get the driver instance, assign that driver instance to another variable. Because we are in this class, you can just mention you can introduce one web driver instance here. You can assign that over in this. So since we are using first time in this class, you can import it in this class file. Now what you can do is assign this description to this driver. Now you can use globally, you can use this driver because we have defined this as the global, so that throughout in other test cases also you can use this driver. One driver you can use it. That's what we have created this one method. So this method we will reuse it whenever we want to set up the driver instance. Once this is ready, then we are going to open the application. So we are going to tell which application we are going to automate. For that, you can write a method open application. So if you want to uh, invoke the application, you need to tell which application you want to invoke, right? So that you can mention here. Let's say URL. You can mention that URL here itself. No issue. So here you can mention string URL equal to our Acme test URL. So if you go to Acme test application which we opened, copy that Acme test application URL and put it over here. Okay, so now we can open this URL here. Once this already we have the driver instance, so that we can open driver dot
Get URL.
yeah, get URL. Get URL or get current URL, both is fine. Get just get and URL. You can just mention URL. So now your application will open. So for opening that application, we are using this driver instance. So this driver instance basically already we create as part of the setup driver. So whenever you want to start your test case, still we haven't started the test case. Still we do all the prerequisites. So we need all these functions. Whenever you start with your test case, call this function first, call this method first, and then call this method. After that, you call the particular whatever according to your test case steps we are going to call. So as soon as this driver instance is, I mean, the application is opened, as Niraja said some time back, we can maximize it. So if you go to driver dot, again the same driver instance. Throughout the application, we are going to use one driver instance, this one, and then manage. There is a method in this driver instance. You can use that. Again, if you give dot, you can use the window and then you can maximize it. Because whenever you want to do some UI automation, always keep your window maximized. Don't keep, because most of the UI applications will look for the visible element. So that is the reason we are going to keep this as the maximized mode. After that, then we have a concept called, once this is maximized, that is fine. Sometimes if you notice, some websites will take some time. Whenever you are loading the first time, also anytime when you go to that particular website, it might take some time to load all the controls. So to overcome that issue, but your statement will execute immediately. It will just execute in a fraction of a second. It will go to the next statement, and it will keep going. But your application still will be loading only, because this is the first time we are opening the URL. That means the application will load, it will take some time. Before that, it will go to the next statement. It will look for the window to maximize, but the application itself not loaded, not opened. In that case, your script in this particular step, it will get failed. So for that, we have to overcome that issue. We have something called waits in Selenium. Okay, that waits, we are going to, like, we have two types of waits. We are going to see implicit wait here to overcome the synchronization issue. So that process called synchronization, that we are going to overcome using this waits concept. So in weights, we have three types basically. So we are going to cover implicit weight here. So implicit weight, explicit. In the explicit itself, we have a fluent, fluent weight we have one. So we are going to cover the first one, fluent weight, explicit weight. These three weights is there. What is the purpose of this weight? To synchronize between your script and your object loading time, right? So how, as soon as the driver instance is created, you can use that. So use driver dot manage dot, there is something called timeouts dot, you can use here implicitly wait. You can mention the duration. So the duration you can mention some 3 seconds. And if you give comma, another parameter you need to use is, you need to tell whether this 3 is seconds or minutes or hours, all that, right? That is the reason. As per the syntax, you have the other this one, other parameter, time unit dot seconds we will use. One drawback is there in this implicit wait. That is the reason we have explicit wait, fluent wait, and all those things. What is the drawback in this implicit wait is, it will, since you create on the driver, it will wait for each and every element. Whenever you interact, it will wait for this much 3 seconds. Some of the objects, even without the single fraction of seconds, like 1 or 2, I mean without 0 seconds also, it will, once the static page and all is there, if you want to type some name and all that, each and every time it will look for 3 seconds, it will wait for 3 seconds. So that is one drawback whenever you are using implicit wait. But if you use just nowadays, like no problem with for functional automation, it is no need to worry about this 3 seconds and all. It's a senior matter, but still you can use, if you want to use implicit wait 3 seconds. Don't give like 10 seconds and all here, because that will eventually affect your performance. It will be very slow. So that always maximum keep 3 seconds if you are using implicit wait. So we have introduced implicit wait concept here, and we are maximizing it so that your browser is ready, your application is opened, and it is ready to automate. So all the prerequisite steps we have done. Now we are going to start with the actual test case. The actual test case is what? The actual test case, assume like we have to log into this application. Log into the application is your maybe one test case. Okay, how we are going to write that test case? So again, it's again the method, right? You can write login to application, write another method. In this method, you are going to use the steps. This login to application may have some 3 steps. One, first you need to go to that application first. Maybe you need to tell the browser type also, whether you are going to test that in Chrome or other browser type. That is one step. After that, once the application is loaded, then you are going to type in the email, you are going to type your password, you are going to click on the login button. All that already we have in our page objects, right? We are going to call that from our test code, from the action driver. So login to application, first what we are going to do, we are going to create the setup driver. We are going to, first we need to create the driver instance, right? If I call this, then that will be created. So simply make a call to this setup driver so that this will call this particular get driver instance. Already you have the Chrome browser in Chrome browser, so that will be passed, and Chrome driver instance will get created, assigned back to this driver. After that, you call open application. So on that driver, it will get to that particular your URL. This application will be opened. On that application, it will do this maximize. So your application will be ready. After that, what is the step? We need to log into we need to type the email. So for typing the email, already you have your method defined in the home page. That's where our page object comes into picture. So if you see here, your email description is here, right? We are returning this element. So what we need to do, we need to create an object to this home page. Using that object, we are going to access this method. It's again the core Java concept, right? So whenever you want to access your members of your class, you have to create an object for that class. Using that object, you can access either web element or either method, either data member or method you can access. So the same concept we are going to implement here. Come to your test code action driver. This also you can create as a global object here itself, because we may need that for password and login also, right? So create one object for home page. Home page. Let's say I will keep this as the driver OPJ. So here also I need to change driver OPJ. This you keep it as home page OBJ. Right, new home page. New home page. That's all. It's already will get imported. Sometimes automatically it will get imported here. Home page class imported. Your object is ready. Right. So throughout this page, you can use the same object. If you have multiple times, if you are going to call other object also, you can use the same thing. So what is our condition here? We are going to use home page object dot. It's not coming. Okay, it's not coming. It is because of this is different package and that is different package. We didn't use the access modifier, right? We completed access modifier, right? So make it as a public. Here and all you need not to use inheritance concept and all. Use it as a public. This login we don't need. Oh, okay. This login, let's see whether this login already we have here. So this we don't need. This will delete it. So make this as a public, basically all the members public. Now if you come back, you will be able to see that in your object. When you click dot, you'll be able to see the field that is data member F. M means method. So we call the email. But to get this email object description, obviously you need to pass the driver instance. That's why we have one input parameter there to hold this driver instance. On that, it will find the element and we are returning back to here. So here also, because we are returning the web element description, store that into one web element here. On that, you can do your action. So I'm going to define one more web element declaration I'm going to do here. Web element. This import this class. Import that class and you can put it that element. As soon as it is assigned, you do your action. What you want to do? We need to type. So the object we found, next action is we need to type in that so that you can use send keys in Selenium. So whenever you want to type something, you can use send keys method. what you are going to send. That information you declare over here. So your username, your email, have defined define your username equal to, I'm going to give my username here. Semicolon. We also need password, so we are going to introduce that password here. So when you try, you create your password and try. So this I have created for testing purpose. So this data we are going to pass over here. Send keys, as this is the email. This is the email object. I'm going to give email over here. I mean username. Okay, username why not string username is username now will be typed. So next one is home page. Password we need to bring, right? For we need to type password. So for that, let us first call the password method, pass your driver instance, and assign the returned element to again element. Now do the type on it. So element dot type send keys, the password, what you are going to type. The password already we assigned the value here. So we are going to send keys of password means password will be typed. After that, we need to click on the login button. For that, we need to first call the homepage dot login here. Already we kept that ready. And obviously we need to pass the driver instance from here. We pass that and assign that also into element. Now do the action on this element, that is click. It's a button, so we are going to click on it. So once all this, when you do this, it will be logging into the application. Let us quickly run this, and then we will do one validation also, whether logged in correctly or not. How we will validate. Here we are just initiating the actions. Obviously it will get logged in, but you need to do as part of test case, you need to validate that page appeared or not. That we will keep it as a next test case. So now right now this is one test case, but you can consider, it depends on you whether how you are going to consider. If you want to consider this also one test case, you can consider, but we don't need to consider this as a test case. We are going to keep this as one test case, just one test case, log into application. But if you notice, we don't have the run button, right? We don't have execute button, so that all these are just a class. We don't have any main function. Going forward, as part of core Java concept, we have seen main. What is the purpose of main? If you want to execute any method, you can put, create an object under main method, and you can call that. You will get an execution point whenever you use main function. But now with main function, we cannot achieve many things like test case management and all. We cannot achieve. So that is already the part of core Java. But here, particularly in the Selenium framework, if you want to do the test case management, this is where we are going to introduce the test-ng concepts. So when you use test-ng concepts, here what we are going to use, we are going to define this login to application as a test case by using a annotation called test. Right now, if I use add test, it won't work because we haven't configured test-ng yet. So that is where the test-ng we are going to introduce here as a testing framework Once if you implement that libraries in the POM file, then you will be good to use this attest annotation. In whichever method you use this attest, that is one test case. So now quickly let us implement the that test ng in the POM file. So let's go to the POM file. Just a one dependency for test ng. We are going to get from the Maven repository as usual. We are going to add it, that dependency over here, like how we did it for Selenium, jars, and WebDriver Manager, same like that. So let's go to Maven repository, go to this URL, search for test ng. It's already I have given launched last time. I just search that. When you search that, you will see org.testng.selenium. This is the official website. Org.testng is the official website, so that you can take it from here for testng. Just click on that and go to the latest version and download, get that dependency. Click on this and get this dependency. Right click, copy, and put it over in the POM file. Just I'm copying it. Now we have configured Selenium, testng. So now this project has Selenium and testng also. So just click on that load Maven change. Now you are good. This testng libraries, as soon as you reload Maven project that change, you'll be able to see that in your external libraries. If you look here, it will be there. The testng jars will already downloaded. So if you look, it will be there. But anyway, when we start with the automation, we will come to know. So this is done. Now you can go back. We can go back to our test case. So let's go to the test case action driver. Now you can once again use add test. Now you will be able to see that annotation here. All right. Before it was not there, but now we have implemented testng, configured testng here. So you can just click on this. Now it won't give you any red color and all that. Immediately you will get execution mark. This is where the purpose of testing framework, because testing means we have to test it. If we want to test it, then we have to trigger it. If you want to trigger, then we have to make this as a test case. This is one test case having 3 steps. What are the 3 steps? We create the driver instance, we open the application, and then we have multiple steps, right? We type email ID, we type password, and then we click, and then we do click. So that this is just one test case. Like this, you have to repeat for whichever test case you want to automate. Write one function. If you want to have any dependent function, for that and all, you need not to use a test. That as usual, you just follow the Java concepts, OOPS concepts, and have your methods defined. And inside you call that, like how we call that now. Because one test case can have n number of steps. For n number of steps, everything you cannot write it under one method itself. Break it actually. So have it as a different small chunks. Have that steps. Have it like multiple methods. Each method consider as one step, and you can call from here, like how we call setup driver and open application, and then like this. So that way you can form multiple test cases. So this, like we have only one test here. Likewise, you can have n number of tests in this. So all that will be managed. We can manage easily. So that is the purpose of test ng. So apart from our test annotation, we have group, we have multiple concepts in TestNG. So we are going to cover a test annotation here, and then we are going to cover XML suite creation and all that. So right now we are good to run our test. So what we are going to do is we are going to click on this. Before that, I'm going to close this instance. This is already opened. I'm closing it. Now let us click this run button. It should work. It should log into that application now. Still running it. Build completed, it says. Console window, test case passed 0, it says. If you see here, test passed 0 of 1. So still running actually. Chrome driver was started successfully. So this is what the getting driver instance function runs now, and it creates the driver instance. The driver instance is created. Now opening the application, it will do the maximize, and it is feeding email ID and password. It's successfully logged in. So our test case, first test case is done. The same thing you need to repeat whenever you want to automate multiple test cases. So we are going to introduce another test case to validate this. So maybe that also you can put it under one test case. Just for our coverage purpose, we will have that as a separate test case also, not a problem. So what we are going to, how we are going to validate whether it is logged in or not. So now the page, previously we are in the login page, but that also we consider as the home page. Now actually it says home page. So here you see the dashboard and welcome screen, all this is there. So your verification point can be, you can decide like whether you are you are going to validate welcome, or you are going to validate if the dashboard page is here, you are going to say my test case is passed. Suppose for some reason it didn't logged in, means you will not see the dashboard page itself, so that you can say it is failed, right? So that way you can write your validation step. So let us consider this dashboard page. So whether it is dashboard, also you have two dashboard. If you want to consider this welcome is also fine. So let us take some challenge one itself. Dashboard here also is dashboard is there. Here also dashboard is there. So how we are going to write our XPath? So anyway, since we have this multiple objects, let's try with this validation. We are going to write one test case to validate this login, whether that's successful or not. As usual, what we need to do as per the page object model, we have to raise the class for this home page. Anyway, already we have written on home page. There itself we can implement this because it's not the separate page, so that you need not to create a separate class, so that directly write your method, describe your method. If you want to describe your method, I mean your object, first we need to know the object descriptions. So as usual, go to right click, inspect, and maybe this window I will put it down actually. So I click here, I click this option, it will come down here. It will be easy for locate here. So let me click this again, this icon, selector icon, and I point to this dashboard. You can find anything. So I will point to the dashboard and click on that. Now what we need to do, we have to write our XPath, whatever stuff we did already, right? So now the code page is here. It is pointing to this particular line of code. If you want to get this dashboard to validate, then we have h1 tag, there is class, and there is nothing inside. If we expand this, we have dashboard. So how we are going to get this text dashboard? I want to get this text first. At least first I want to we want to identify this, then only we can get the text from that particular place. As usual, the find element, how we are going to find this element, we are going to use locators concept. In the locators we have only the class name is there. Let us see whether this class name, if we use this page hyphen header, is it going to return only one object? In that case is fine. Otherwise always go with the XPath, that is the dynamic element you can get using XPath. Don't go like take a class name and all always, because that's not the suggested one. It may give multiple objects. So that always you go with the XPath. So we are going to write XPath now again. So for the dashboard page. So as per our syntax, we will start from each and every time. We also recommend not to use absolute XPath. So directly you can use relative XPath // and then you can mention this tag name and you can prepare your XPath. So let's go to a document and mention there. So to find this XPath, you can anyway you can validate that in Chrome browser itself. So // and then h1 tag we have. As per the syntax, we have to use tag name in bracket attribute name. Attribute name class we have, but let's see that class equal to class name. Class equal to page hyphen header. So either you can type it or paste it directly. You can give Control F and you can type it here itself. // h1 tag name square bracket at the attribute. That is the syntax, right? At what is the attribute here? Class. Class equal to page hyphen header. Page hyphen header. Let's see whether it gives only one object or not. It's going to give one object. It is fine. In this particular scenario, we don't have any duplicate objects with the same class name. So that's why it gives one. That is absolutely fine. You can take this XPath. Okay, you can take this also completely fine. You can take this XPath and build your method for validating the dashboard text. That if you are going to write a method, if the dashboard text exists in this particular page, then you are going to make that test case as pass. So that first we need to define this method. So that's the reason I go back to code and go to the home page class, not in the action driver. That is our test code. Go to dev code here. go to page objects, go to home page, write another method for validate. Public web element validate dashboard. Either it's all your wish how you want to give your method name. Validate dashboard text, or you can leave it as it is also. Obviously you are going to pass the driver instance to this method, so that you can mention that to hold that driver instance you have to declare it here as a temporary variable. So you should not think here also we use WebDriver, here also WebDriver. It's not the duplicate, because this is particularly to this particular method. Likewise, this is for this particular method. So you can just input parameter only. So you can use. So now, as usual, in this driver dot find element and by dot XPath. Already we copied the text path. We will paste that. Semicolon. Your object description is ready. Then assign this to element and return this element. Return element. Return this element. Right. So now when you come back, now your validate function is ready. I mean object description is ready. The test case you are going to write here. So go to your test code, action driver. Here we are going to write. We are going to call that, and again it's in the home page only. So that home page dot validate dashboard. Pass the driver instance from here, and everything you assign to element object. On this element object, you are going to get the text. Now what is our action? So on the login button we clicked, on the email text box we typed. For that we use send keys method. But now we are not giving something to the page, we are getting something from the page. That means that dashboard text I want to fetch it. For that you can use get text property, get text method you can use. Get text. Obviously if you are going to get it, you need to assign into a variable. So maybe here itself I will introduce string actual actual value or actual text. It depends on you, whatever variable you want to use you can use, or actual result I will use. Actual result. The actual result whatever comes, that you check with your expected result. Maybe you can introduce one variable, or no need also. Directly also you can put it, but just for maintaining the consistency you can introduce string expected results. Expected result equal to what we want to expect, dashboard. That is our expected. When we log in successfully, we are going to validate whether this dashboard text is there or not. So I assign this dashboard text into a variable so that we can validate that. Now to validate, you need not to use if condition. So these are all manually, if you want to do, you can do, but it is not all necessary. Yeah, if this actual result equal to validate result, then you write something, no need. We have something called assertion in testng that you can make use of it. So just type assert, because already we have configured testng. At test is comes under annotations. Assert will come as a validations. So you can, when you type assert, org.testng will come. Just double click on it. After that, you give dot. If you notice, yesterday we have seen method overloading, part of your polymorphism, and we remembered we can do a same task in different forms. Same like that here. If you notice, asset equals, we have multiple methods. I mean, same method in the multiple times. But if you notice the parameters, here int, here byte, here also there is, here this is byte, this is wrapper class, this is byte. There will be some change in the, either in the number of arguments or in the data type, right? That's where the method overloading we have seen. This is one example I'm saying. So what we are going to do is just select any asset equals, just select one. By giving data, we can differentiate it. So our expectation is we are going to compare actual result with the expected result. Actual result, comma, expected result. That's all. So this is going to tell you whether it is your test case is pass or fail. Okay, now let us run this and we'll see the results. And before that, let's close this instance. Right now, I'm running it now here. Chrome browser started. It's going to invoke that URL. It's logging in now. Now it is going to validate this dashboard. If it is there, then it will say pass. If you see the console, one total tests run one, in that passes also one, right? So if you notice here, it is passed actually. So failed means then it will come in the failures. So like this, you can do the automation and you can validate, you can manage your test cases using the test engine. So all that we have seen. Tomorrow what we are going to see is we are going to see some more on this test engine. We are going to, if there are, now we consider as one test case. Tomorrow we are not going to automate multiple test cases, but we will break this just for our convenient. We are going to break this into multiple test cases, and we are going to run them. So if it is a single test case, directly you can run by clicking on the execute button, you can run it. But whenever you have the multiple test cases, each and every time manually we cannot run, right? Manually we should not run. So everything should be automatically called and automatically should be running it. So that since we have one test case, we ran it manually. But if you are going to have multiple test cases, oh sorry, I'm mentioning to different. So this is about this one. Since we have one test case, I ran it manually. Assume you have like this, you have multiple test cases. Each and every time we should not run manually. So when you have multiple test cases, how we are going to run? There are two ways. There is something called run configuration. You can set up that, and there you can mention the entire class, so that within that class, how much hour this one you have test cases, all that will execute. Or the other approach is we can create a testng XML suite. In that XML suite, you can mention any number of test cases. Just if you trigger in one command, it is going to trigger that XML suite and it is going to run all multiple test cases. So that thing tomorrow we will see along with Maven concepts. So along with Maven concepts, this TestNG along with Maven concepts we will see tomorrow, and also that the Jenkins. Either Jenkins will start tomorrow or Jenkins plus BDD framework we will start on Sunday. So that way we will be able to complete all these concepts. Okay, so that's all for today. Let me see any questions are there.
Can you push this code to like repo so that people can just check out and get that code? Like whatever classes and other things we have written.
Yeah, you can do that. Anyway, it's there in the recording, right? So that's why you will get some practice. If you have code,
Okay.
then obviously you will not do that download and keep it, and you will not do anything. Even I do the same thing. I also have many videos, but I never watch that. I mean, I never download that this one. Whenever I want to do, I will watch the video and I will do myself. So watch the video and do it yourself so that you will get to know clearly. So that is the practice for you. Okay, so that's all for today. We don't have any questions also, so we will catch up tomorrow.
Yeah, Ram, I have one question.
Okay.
So if we have, like, if I write a XPath and I'm able to find like 10 locators, okay. So if I execute, will I be getting any exception, or like it will be fixing the first one? I mean, it will be picking the first one in the queue, and then my test case will get passed.
So if it is going to returning multiple objects for one XPath query, then even from there you need to pick which one you want. So maybe it's a kind of, you can use a square bracket and mention like as an index, whether you want from that list, which one you want to select, whether the first one or second one, third one.
Yeah, I got it. But if I don't do that index, I have 10 elements. So when I execute it, will it pick any one of them, or like I will be getting an exception?
No, you will get exception only, because you have to clearly, it has to return only one element. That way you need to design your XPath. So suppose if I want to click on this login button, if I don't get to one login button, if there are multiple login buttons, obviously it won't work. You will get exception. It won't click on anything. So that way we need to design our XPath. So that is what XPath itself is a separate skill. You can develop on that XPath, how to write effective XPath. Obviously we have some tools also. I mean, in the control F, if you give, you can validate XPath, you are validate. Some online XPath validation tools also you can put and validate whether your XPath is correct, whether it is returning only one object. Based on that, you can suppose it's again based on your requirement. Suppose if you want to count something, obviously it has to return multiple XPath and all, right? For that you will use, instead of find elements, you will use plural. So right now we have used find element. This is singular. In that particular scenario, then you can use find elements, and then you can calculate your count your objects and all. So it is again specific scenario. It depends on the requirement how you want to proceed. Okay, let's see. Okay, thank you, Sriram. Yeah. Okay, then, so that's all for today. So let's focus on tomorrow. Tomorrow also important. No, all the sessions are important only. So tomorrow we'll run the multiple test cases using TestNG XML sheet, and then we will proceed with Maven and Jenkins.
Thank you.
Okay, then. Thank you, everyone. We'll catch up tomorrow. Thank you all. Bye.